Here we go. A little bit of mountain sage here now. From California, I think. Another one of my favorite smells. Yeah, it's interesting why it's called sage, you know. Sage, the old wise one, you know, the seers, you know. Sage is used in cooking in this part of the world. From the Dr. Bross juice diet book. This guy, Dr. Bross, a German doctor who had single-handedly through his juice diets saved or cured about 90,000 people since the 1960s. And this book's it's not a top shelf, it's hard to get, you know. And there was a very interesting brew in there, which included sage. And when it comes to sage, the sage you can grow in this country, you know, you can boil it up in a tea. And oh, by the way, this is part 3, yeah, continued from the previous 2. I felt like there was a couple of things I'd missed out, you know. So yeah, you can. I'll explain this in a minute, yeah. You can boil it up and gargle it. I mean, basically, there's 2 things you can do. One, you can leave it sitting in boiling water for about 10 minutes. You don't really want to ingest that. The oils can be a bit funny with your tummy, but you can gargle it, and you can. It's really good for your glands and stuff, you know, and will clear up most things through the glands. Now, if you want to ingest it, and they say it's good to do this maybe once every 3 months, not something you do all the time. But the thing that you're looking for is an enzyme that gets released after 3 minutes of boiling. And during the process of boiling, you're boiling away the oils, which is something you don't want to ingest, and then at 3 minutes exactly, it releases this enzyme, and this is the thing that you drink. Mixed with other herbs. I remember there was one horsetail. I'll try and get the recipe out because I can't remember it exactly now. But it's supposed to be good for arthritis and rheumatism, you know, and various other ailments and stuff like that, you know. So sage is a very good herb, and well worth using. You know, in blocks, we'll say, like they say you do it. If everyone was to do that, 3 cups of tea a day for 3 months, you know, it cure just about anything. I mean, they you know, the old herbalists and you know, ancient around the time of Hippocrates, and you know. I'm looking for a word, God almighty. But yeah, maybe the sages of old, yeah, what they said, if you have sage in the garden, you never get ill. So, you know, it does do something. It helps to clean the liver, and some say all illness starts in the liver. So the necessity of this block of time, maybe once a year, where you could do that, it would be a very powerful thing, you know. So anyway, yeah, also thinking about tea, normality, the normal tea. When you think about it, right, it's not so long ago, maybe some young people might not remember this, but it was always tea leaves. And it actually takes 10 minutes of brewing. That means keeping it on the range as it was them days, the Rayburn and the Stanley. For 10 minutes, you know, brewing it, like, you know, even under a little bit of gas, a little bit of fire, and kind of percolating that tea for 10 minutes for it to release its antioxidants. Now, everybody has a cup of tea these days in a tea bag, and it's very fast and efficient, but you don't get that 10 minutes because you want to take that tea bag out pretty fast before it turns to tar. And what is tea leaf? What's in the tea bag these days? You know, some people say actually when you look into it, it's not very good quality at all. It's the scrapings from the dust from the ground, you know. So yeah, really, you want to get back to the tea leaves if you're going to have normality, and brewing it is essential. 10 minutes of brewing it, for it to release its antioxidants. So there's a little tip, because that's basically what you want to be getting from the tea, So the hat. Well, I earned this hat. It's quite an interesting the way it came to me. My friend Sue made it. It was ordered, and this guy had paid money up front and everything, and I was doing a Tuesday market stall in Glastonbury, and I said to Sue, you could join me, get your stuff out, there's loads of room, we'll split the rent for the day. And she came out, and I donned this hat. She had just finished it, it was supposed to go to this guy, and it was just one of those days, just bringing a bit of character to the market. We had a good old laugh, and everybody kept saying, "Wow, what a really nice hat, man! It suits you, that hat was made for you, and it was going to somebody else." But a couple of weeks later, I met Sue on the street. She said, "You're not going to believe it, but this guy, he's just turned around and said that he don't want the hat, and he says, don't worry about the deposit." And it was like, he'd given like 50, 60 quid deposit, And so in effect, I got the hat for half price, on top of just the fact, the fact that it came to me in that way. It's like, and that's really it's interesting. When you some of my best clothes anyway, and my observations in and around this, when it comes to certain things, they do come to you, and it is a little bit like you earn those things, And this shirt, I got it in. I actually got it in the hat fair, the Winchester Hat Fair last year, and it's got loads of little love hearts, all over it. I was with my daughter, and I've just noticed that now. Yeah, I've got the hat on, and I was going to explain about the shirt. I got all these really cool Moroccan, stylish Moroccan dudes, But it's just interesting, But it's after sundown, so as I said before, the Celts they begin the day, end the day before sunset, ending the day after sunset, I guess, whatever. I always kind of think, well, this is the 15th as much as it is after midnight tonight. So technically it's my birthday, and I'm 48 years of age, and that's 4/8. And since I'm doing an 88-day fast, that they're back to back, today's the 28th. The 28th day, into the fast. So a nice little synchronicity there, 2 8s, and then 4 8s. I'm 48 today, tomorrow, whatever. So I thought I'd don the hat, just for the crack, and try and get down to finishing what I was saying today. So, and I have something brewing in my head as well in relation to what just happened, So, I've decided I'm gonna fast for 3 days on just water. I feel quite good about that now. I realize that a lot of stuff has been going on in my head, which has been a battle in relation to what I think I can and can't do, I mean, ultimately, I think I'm kicking and screaming in relation to the idea of veganism. I most certainly I felt so much better, but I've got to have a little bit more longevity into the fast, because I'm dealing with. I was spitting up phlegm today and the last week or two, and still got stuff coming from my lungs. It's been. Last time I had tobacco was the 8th of November. So, that's November, December, January, February, into my 4th month, So this is pretty good, but the stuff's still coming up, And, I didn't smoke a great deal last year, but I had a few weeks here and there, Could have been a total of a couple of months in the whole year. A week on, a week off, or 2 or 3 weeks of smoking, whatever, But it wasn't a great deal, but it was enough to keep me. I suppose in a way, when I look back on it, it's like kind of weaning myself off, But anyway, what really came up for me during this process of what happened on Sunday, which led me to eating out of hours. And at least the food that I ate wasn't that bad, but it was still like, it's it's to do with willpower and the discipline and keeping that impeccability around like my goal, because I don't want to waste my time either. I don't want to half do things, It's like I really want to clear this stuff out, not just in body, but in mind and in spirit, soul, and in my consciousness, and and I realized that it's half the battle, because a lot of this is in the mind. So, and I'm fighting, I'm kicking and screaming, like, and I see somebody else eating meat, and I'm like, oh, what? I'm never going to eat meat again, am I? And because like, when I really look into it, I really feel like it's definitely something I want to head towards. If not, there's no becoming in it, right? It's just a matter of like, ethics and whether it's a program that's or a spell that needs broken, or whatever the case may be, because I feel so good without meat and cheese and dairy, 11:11 on the clock when I said that. So it is a matter of breaking this program, and if it's a program, I'd like to break it, and if it's a necessary part of my makeup, then I will be very careful what I eat. It's definitely mass-produced meat is going to be out of the question. I will not support modern farming and the atrocities and the brutality that goes on within the meat and the dairy industry. And I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to be eating those antibiotics and the shit that they're feeding them, because it comes out in the food. There's no doubt about that. And I want to be away from that. I don't want to be part of that, So whatever about, the other aspect or reality of what we used to do and how things were done in the hunt and, honoring the animal and honoring the meat, whatever about that, whatever that will come up, if it's going to come up, or I'm absolutely heading for veganism. So you'll see, and you'll notice if you remember some of the other posts, you'll see that I'm struggling with the idea of it, even, and I've done it before. I've been a vegan for a few months at a time, and I've been a vegetarian for a year or two, and I've done it, and I'm remembering those moments, and how I came back to stuff, and the stuff that goes on in the head. But the one thing I wanted to share with you was what really happened on Sunday. Was like I was having a moment of light. I could feel this light coming through my eyes, and the way I was dealing with people and in this market, and the conversation that took place, and the clarity of this me, and it was a beautiful moment, and in a way, I remember having this kind of experience before on many occasions, and I noticed it when I think about it, going into what happened with the bread, and then continuing, and then having 2 or 3 days of just breaking the fast, and being a bit of a rebel. It's a form of self sabotage. And I recognize it, and I honor that trigger now in relation to, because this is the thing that I believe more than anything else is it happens to me so many times in my life. It's self-sabotage, but it's that kind of fear, and this something that just comes over me, which it speaks of this fear of shining. This fear of this light that exists, and then having it and maintaining that, and it's a very interesting thing to experience, and I'm sure a lot of people would have experienced this, and I know that some sort of repetition and discipline that has constancy and longevity in when I'm standing in that, truly standing in that, it will maintain itself by itself, within itself, so I recognize that it was a sort of self-sabotage towards that, me not wanting to shine, and